Welcome to Unsubscribe. I'm your host, Avani Jane. In this podcast, I'm going to show you how to intentionally opt out of anything that's robbing you of your energy, freedom, joy, and peace of mind. It's time to let it all go, finally, so that you can clear your mental inboxes and make space to subscribe to a life that truly lights your soul. If you're ready, hop in. We are embarking on the transformation of a lifetime. Hello, and welcome back to Unsubscribe. I am grateful to be with you today. And we're going to be diving into this episode and going on a little adventure because I haven't really scripted it in the way I normally do. Actually, I do have bullet points, which is funny because I felt like this was going to be more off the cuff, but it's mostly a hodgepodge of what's been happening in life right now, what is really present for me right now, how I'm moving through it. And I just want to share really raw, vulnerably, and in the moment, because I think that's really helpful for me when I see other people moving through something and seeing how they carry themselves. It's inspiration for me or information for me. So that's what we're going to do today. I have a few bullet points, some ideas, some thoughts. It's going to be fun. So if you're ready for something really deep, really raw, really vulnerable, I don't know where it's going to take us, but it's going to take us somewhere good and somewhere where we need to be. If you're ready for that, then hop on because we're going to dive in. And the first thing I want to share with you is at our agency, Matcha Design Labs, we had a really, really hard week this week. Something that's never happened before, something that I never expected, but one of our team members passed away. And he was young, he was 31. He had the energy of life in him. He always cracked jokes on client calls and brought a lot of energy to the table, was excited about what we were working on, and was a really wonderful team member to be around. He had a health issue that flared up and became more than he thought it was. And one moment he was with us and one moment he wasn't. And it's just really hard because you don't expect this. And it's just so shocking. It's jarring. His name is Tian. I should share his name because his name deserves a place on the show. I'm grateful to have known him. And what's crazy is we only worked together for 5 months. So we had worked really closely on a project. I was actually on this client project and we were working on it together. And it was just crazy to realize like he was there and then one day he wasn't. And we are contributing to his memorial service. I'm really proud that we're going to be able to do that. And we touched base with his parents. But oh my gosh, these moments remind me how fragile life is and how we just so easily take it all for granted. And when things like this happen in life, because they inevitably do, I'm always reminded of that, the beauty and the ephemerality of life. And I often think about this person that left us, and because people leave us all the time. And in this case, our team member Tian, who left us, what would he love to see as we carry on with our lives? What would he be really proud of when if he thinks back about his life, if he can even see us, hear us, who knows? What would he want his legacy to be? And I try to take the good of what people who leave us shared with me and integrate that and carry that on with me in the rest of my life. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. I hope to bring that humor, that energy into work, play, fun. And he was really good at what he did. He was a wizard in Figma. That I don't think I'm going to be bringing into my work because I don't want to be a wizard in Figma. But I would love to bring his vigor for the subject matter, for the passion that he had in Web3, which was what the project was we were working on. And I'm sure more ideas will come to me because this is so fresh. It's been just 4 days since we found out. But I hope to honor his legacy in the short time that I knew him. And even though I knew him for just a short time, it's so jarring. You see somebody every day and then one day you don't. So I want to share this as it's something I'm processing. And I also want to share one more piece in regards to this. sometimes we don't have the ability to sit and spend 3 hours crying about something. We just don't. Life is going on. And that's the weird juxtaposition of all of this is this big, heavy thing happened on our team, but projects are still happening. People are still moving on with their lives, or people who didn't even know him. Life is still happening, right? And it's insane. It's insane that we are still asked to keep going when it can just be taken away like this, or someone can just be taken away like this. And that difference, that contrast is so unsettling. And I think I've had some difficulty with that. It feels really weird. Plus, I haven't had the space to sit and be like, wow, this is what just happened, and give it that space and time. And I'm not actually sure when I will have the space and time to do that. We have some travels coming up, and support around the home isn't the same as usual. So I am committing to finding the pockets of time in my life in motion. This actually relates to the last podcast episode, using life as the meditation. Can we also use life as the medicine? Can we also use life as the healing? And so I'm processing as I go. I'm finding pockets of time. I'm finding micro interactions with friends, family, loved ones, and allowing those small moments, even if it's a minute or a few moments, to be truly healing, because small moments can be healing. Healing and the inner work doesn't need to look like you disappear and fall off the planet for a long time. It doesn't need to look like that. It could be as we go. It can be in the motion of life, because not all of us have the luxury of sitting and spending a week away or flying off for a weekend in a cabin and resetting. Maybe we do, and sometimes we don't. We have obligations. We have projects we're doing. We have people counting on us. We have people we need to be present for in our lives. It's not always feasible. So, can we process and use life as the medicine? Process as we go, release as we go, soften as we go. And I think it's possible. I think we can. And I'm hoping to continue to share how I'm doing that on this platform, on Instagram stories. It's interesting because I was debating whether or not I should even share this. Like, should I just process it all first and then share? Because I'm definitely a big proponent of sharing when it feels right, sharing when it feels safe. But it felt really important to me to share in the process of it all this time. I felt called to do that. And I really believe that is what Tian would have appreciated. Could this be an example for others? So that's what we're doing. I'm sharing. I am processing in public, per se. Not really, though, with all of you. And I feel very grateful for all of you to hold the container, but also want to share that this is how it can look sometimes, what is possible. And that is my goal, to share what is possible, to be an expander for all of us and explore what is available for us in this container that we call life. If you have any questions about this, if you want to talk more about it, definitely send me a message on Instagram DMs, because I'm happy to discuss. I know death and grief can be very heavy, and this isn't somebody that I knew very well or for a very long time, but I knew him in one aspect, in one capacity, and even so, it's been challenging. So I invite you, when you lose someone in your life, no matter how long you've known them, how well you know them, to give it the time and space that it needs, and know that that doesn't mean it needs to be all in one chunk. Give yourself the permission to process as you move through your days, because that's what's available to us: the days, the moments, the life, and that can be healing. So I want to transition a little into a different topic that's been on my mind, and it's the concept of freedom. And there's two pieces. It actually bridges from the last item. One of the things that I did when I reimagined Matcha Design Labs in 2023 was I wanted this business to have solid systems, so that if any one person needed to step away, or if anything happened, any other person could pick up and come into the project and everything would be smooth. And God forbid something happened. For us, it did happen this week. Someone was no longer able to be on a project. We had these incredible systems in place that allowed us peace of mind. And we were able to bring in another designer very quickly into the project. He caught up, he's up to speed, he's already working on the project, and we've already made progress on the project. In moments like these, I'm grateful more than ever before for investing time in creating systems and having a project management system like ClickUp. I talk about how ClickUp is life changing, and sometimes I make fun because I'm obsessed with it, but there is a reason I'm obsessed with it, because it changed the game for me. And in moments like this, when I can rely and lean back on those systems, it is everything. I'm going to actually link ClickUp in the show notes because I believe in it so much that I am a partner of it. I love talking about it. And if you're interested in having a wonderful project management tool for your business and also for your life. I run my entire life and household on ClickUp. We have multiple properties that we're managing on ClickUp, multiple team members. It's a lot happening in our big lives, which is, I'm so grateful for our big lives, but there's a lot happening that can be overwhelming. And these tools help make it easier for us. And I love using tools. I love using technology and letting that piece do the work so I can relax a little bit more. I can be a little bit longer. I can eat my lunch, record a podcast, or go to the bathroom, like basic stuff sometimes. And I really believe in systems because of the freedom it provides. And freedom is just a concept that keeps coming up for me. I've mentioned it's a core value of mine. It's something I really, really believe in creating in every aspect of life. And what I'm realizing is sometimes I get in the way of my own freedom. And I'm giggling because I feel like a lot of us do this. We want a flowy day. We want to have a nice weekend where it's chill and we're just sitting and reading and watching our favorite shows, or having a rot day is what we're calling it on TikTok apparently, or doing an everything shower and just really being in that delicious, luxurious space. And we take it away from ourselves by scheduling hangouts with our friends, which can be really fun and expensive too, but sometimes we do it when we know we don't want to. Having a bunch of dinners, having a really packed schedule, committing to things we don't want to commit to. And then we find ourselves wondering, wait, I thought I had to do nothing this weekend, or I had to do nothing today. I thought I didn't have any meetings. Why did the day go by and I feel like I'm exhausted? I'm run down. I didn't accomplish what I wanted to. Why? And I'm realizing that that has become a habit in a lot of ways. And it's actually related to the circuit. So we get caught in this circuit of doing things. And sometimes we keep wanting to do things because it is something that brings us worthiness. It is something that makes us feel accomplished and drives our personality. And for me, of course, as an Enneagram 3, that is part of it. But doing things and being in that circuit, that day in, day out, round and round and round, merry-go-round circuit of me doing things all the time, filling my calendar, filling my free time, filling my space, and the monkey brain going, that circuit happens because of habit. We're just addicted to being in that circuit, to doing things, to getting that gratification of whatever it is, checking something off the list, feeling like we had a busy, packed, hectic day. Like, oh, it was a hectic day, but great. The ego's happy about it. We just get stuck in that circuit and we bring it upon ourselves. So I'm realizing freedom is releasing from that circuit and actually recommitting to creating space for myself. I was with a friend at a coffee shop this morning and she asked me, have you ever tried putting time on your calendar to do nothing or just me time? I'm like, yeah, I have, but I never respect it. I never respect that time for myself. I respect meetings with other people. I show up to my workouts with other people, like my trainer today. I show up to coffee dates with other people, but I don't show up to the me time with myself. And it somehow gets dropped. It's not something I keep as a commitment. And I'm not proud of it. And I'm realizing that is something I need to unsubscribe to. So I'm putting it on my list of what I'm unsubscribing to right now, because I do have more things I want to share with you on that piece, but I should add that to the list. Unsubscribing to not keeping commitments to myself in my calendar. And that is getting in the way of my freedom. I'm the one getting in the way of me feeling free, of me feeling spacious. And it's just so comical. It's so funny. I'm at a moment where I'm feeling like, okay, we need to reset a little bit. We need to take a look at what is actually filling our time. And how are we operating when things are asking for our time? How are we slotting things in? Are we just jumping and doing things right away when they pop up? Or are we scheduling them out for this other time when we have actually the bandwidth, the mental bandwidth to do that thing, to have that appointment or that meeting? Are we actually putting ourselves first? Because the thing is, I get when something needs to be done. Great. Got to do it. It's time sensitive. It's urgent. Got to go mail my taxes to the government because it's April 15th, then got to go to the post office and spend an hour and a half there in the long line. Had to do that on Monday. Get it. I get it. That's urgent. That's important. You got to do it. But other things, I'm giving you examples from my real life. Other things like, hey, we have to try out these lighting fixtures because we want to change the lighting fixtures in our house. And when can the person who's going to install them come over? Oh, how about today? Like, did it need to be today? No. But did I want to schedule it for today to check it off the list and have the ego feel good that it's off the list at least? Yes. And so I did. This was yesterday or 2 days ago. So I did, and it happened. And I'm not sure that it was actually the right decision. So it's a matter of looking at the priorities and actually asking yourself critically, does this need to happen now? Is this important? Is there a time I can batch this for a later date and do all the things that are like together? And will that be better because I can now take the time that I had this afternoon, free block, to fill my cup instead? Because I've been pouring from an empty cup for a long time and I don't know how much longer this can go on. And that's when burnout happens, right? To me, freedom is kind of the opposite of burnout. So I urge you, when those things pop up, like got to go to the post office, got to schedule something for a contractor to come in and install something, gotta go for a small grocery run because you ran out of eggs. Does it need to happen now? Does it need to happen by you? Does it need to happen at all? If you're choosing to do that thing, what element of your freedom are you giving up? What element of a commitment to yourself are you giving up? And is it worth that trade off? I'm trying to take a different approach to how I look at the idea of doing things all the time, the idea of being stuck on this circuit of doing and struggling to find that empty space, that free time, that free moment. And I think it's just been a struggle that I've been having for the last couple months. You've heard me talk about it on the podcast. So I want to share that because it's another thing I'm working on and sharing as I go. And it's important to crack this. And I'm practicing different ways to do that. I shared on a past episode on how I'm approaching my calendar to create more space and unsubscribe to being overscheduled. And some of those tactics are working, which is wonderful. But at a high level, I think I need to make a strategic change. And that's what I'm doing now is I'm taking a look at each thing that's being slotted in, that's being asked of my time, my calendar, my space. And I am critically asking myself, if I do this, does it need to happen now? Does it need to happen by me? And what am I giving up in order to get this done? That's a big one because there's always an opportunity cost for these things. What's really great is I'm reading this book I finished this book called Slow Productivity. I want to talk about it on a different podcast episode. Such a good book. And in this book, it talks about how we, by default, fill our calendars to the brim. And one of the ideas the author shares is, what if you had a limit of what could be on your calendar? And for every item that goes into your calendar, you need an equivalent amount of time that is blank on your calendar. Now, this is a little triggering to me because I'm like, bro, he doesn't know how many things I need to do, how many things I need to get done in my life. He doesn't get it. But I think that's a indicator for me that I need to do that, need to treat my calendar that way. So I'm going to be experimenting with that this coming week of if I put one thing on my calendar, I need to have, and it's 1 hour long, I need to have 1 hour of free space and free time. And if that time runs out in the 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. block, then I can't add another thing to my calendar for that day. And then it goes into the next day or the next week. And too bad, like, so be it. So I'm working on that, and I'm gonna report back to all of you on how that goes. I also want to jump into a few other things I'm unsubscribing to because I find it so fascinating when I've asked this question to other people. Hey, what are you subscribing to right now? What are you unsubscribing to right now? And it's just so fun to see what people are thinking about, what's really on their minds right now, what's keeping them up at night. And you'll see common themes from what I've just shared and discussed with you. But number one, I'm unsubscribing to doing the most and leaning in more and more into doing the least for the most. Like I want to do less and I want a higher ROI on the things I'm doing. And this applies to so many things like my morning routine. If you saw my morning routine reel that I shared this week, one of my favorite reels that I've done so far. And I talk about how I'm focusing on potent activities, things that really can quickly change my state, help me feel instantly good. And that is possible. You can feel instantly good. The mind can make a shift. It's so powerful. So if you're interested in what those practices are, definitely check out my morning routine Instagram reel. I think it's like a few reels back. If you're listening to this episode on the day it releases, maybe like, I don't know, 7 to 9 reels back. Actually, you know what? Let's link it in the show notes. If you want to see my morning routine reel, we're going to link it in the show notes. So we'll do that as well. And doing the least for the most is such a theme in my morning routine. So I want to share that with you because it's something that I'm hard subscribing to right now. Another thing I'm unsubscribing to is getting in my own way and oversubscribing myself. Kind of what we just talked about. Like I'm just so oversubscribing myself. It's funny. I just oversubscribed myself to something last week where an old client of ours who sent us a lot of business asked for some t-shirt designs for his fraternity reunion. And I was like, yeah, we'll do it. No big deal. I will actually do it as a gift to you for sending us so many clients. And we're working on this t-shirt design. And I'm realizing like I really didn't need to do that. Like I love helping friends out. I love making cool things for friends. And we have a great team that helps support that. But is it really something that was a priority? And could I have kindly said, actually, we don't have the bandwidth for that? Probably yes. And so I'm working on practicing saying yes to the things that truly feel right and aligned for this era of my life and saying no gratefully, artfully to the things that aren't. And that is what I am unsubscribing to right now. Unsubscribing to oversubscribing. If you're on board with that, let's do it together because I'm over it. I'm also unsubscribing to being an energy that doesn't feel good. And what I mean by this is being in rooms, in spaces, in people's feeds, people's profiles, any like entity that has energy that carries that doesn't feel good, I am opting out of it, hard opting out of it. So if someone's Instagram page doesn't feel right to me at the moment, I am unsubscribing, literally unfollowing. If someone's post or if like that social media app doesn't feel good, I'm closing it. Sometimes TikTok shows weird things and I really try to use TikTok intentionally. But if it doesn't feel good, I am unsubscribing to it or closing the app, opting out of it. I try to be more intentional these days with social media because every little thing that goes into our mind impacts and creates our inner reality. And that's what creates our outer reality. So I'm really being careful about the spaces I'm in, the online spaces and the in-person spaces, the virtual spaces. So rooms I'm in when I'm in a virtual group session on Zoom, rooms I'm in when I'm in person, people that I'm meeting up with. This is another big one. Clients we're working with. We actually recently had to say goodbye to a client that was one of our biggest clients. And I think I may do a podcast episode on this. We'll see. One of our biggest clients that we had to say goodbye to because it wasn't a good environment to work with anymore. We as a team weren't feeling good. I wasn't feeling good. The team that was working on it actively wasn't feeling good. And I was like, okay, we need to get out of this energetically. It is not right. And it is draining us. It is pulling us down. It is a toxic environment. And it's just not okay. So I'm unsubscribing to quickly and early spaces that don't feel energetically aligned. This is so crucial. I'm doing this more and more easily and effortlessly because I'm realizing how much it impacts my well being. And when it impacts my well being, it impacts the people that I interact with and their well-being as well, because I interact with those people on a daily basis, and I love them, I care for them, and I want to bring good energy to them as much as possible. So those are some things I'm unsubscribing to right now. I always love to hear what you're thinking and working on and unsubscribing to. So please always feel free to send me a message on Instagram of what you're unsubscribing to as well, because it's so much fun to hear about and talk about and support each other on. Let's talk about what I'm currently consuming, because I've been reading a lot, listening to a lot of podcasts, and I've just been so inspired by some of the things I'm learning and reading. So I wanted to share with you so you can consume those things too, because they've been so impactful to me. I have 4 things that I wanted to share that I'm currently consuming right now. Number 1, I just finished Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. I talked about it earlier in this show. So good. Oh my goodness. It talks about how we have been stuck in this way of producing and creating and operating in work that is kind of a lie. And this book, Cal Newport, talks about a different way to be productive, and he actually gives really great tactics and ideas on how to implement that. Really enjoying that. I just started Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. I'm so excited about this book. I've heard such great things about it from friends, and just getting into it a couple chapters, and I'm feeling like, wow, I'm listening to this on audiobook. She is speaking to me, and I feel like it's going to be such an impactful read to unblock myself into the next level of being, the next level of what we're creating here in the movement of Unsubscribe. So I'm really excited about that. A couple of podcasts that I've been loving. Number 1, Makeshift Happen by Samantha Daly. I've been following Samantha Daly lately, and her stuff is so refreshing. And I love how honest and vulnerable she is. She was actually the inspiration for this podcast episode. So, hi, thank you, Samantha, if you ever listen to this one day. I am just so grateful that I got to find her on the podcast app and consume her content and be inspired by it. She shares vulnerably, she connects things to pop culture in creative ways, and she's just sharing refreshing points of view on business. And I've been really enjoying listening to her content and her story. And the 4th piece of content that I'm enjoying consuming lately is the It's Upgrade Season podcast by my friend Alexandra Maria. She and I are in a mastermind together, and it's been so cool to see her transformation over the last 1 year. The work she does is really incredible. She runs retreats, she holds coaching containers, and she is not afraid to make big moves and make big life shifts. And I think all of that she infuses into her podcast, It's Upgrade Season. And she's sharing vulnerably and authentically in just like this girl talk, hey, I'm not going to gatekeep kind of way. And it's been an inspiration for me. And I'm just so excited to cheer her on and listen to her and learn from her as well. So I wanted to share these 4 pieces of content because I'm loving them and you might love them too. And I want to thank you all. Thank you for being here and listening through. If you made it this far in the episode, thanks for joining this ride. I feel like we meandered a little bit, but we got to where we needed to go. And I just want to share that I love you all. I'm really grateful for you all. And life can be messy, life can be dark, life can be bright, life can be a lot of things. And at the same time, we get to be the main character of our lives. We get to make decisions that impact our lives. We get to change things in an instant if we really want to. We have the keys to creating the realities we want. And I feel so fueled by that in hard moments, especially because I know that this work that I'm doing is so important and so valuable to me and hopefully all of you as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I will see you in the next episode.